Hello everyone, Jai Hind. I hope you all are doing well. From today onwards, we'll be starting the subject of sociology, and I'll be simply explaining you the subject with all details, and we will be referring to the sociology book, which is of Penguin Random House. And this is the first page of the book. We will be starting. See, these are the contributors, and we'll be referring to this book for understanding sociology in a simpler manner in the shortest time. All right, you can see the names: Christopher Thorpe, Chris Ewell. I'm extremely sorry, these are proper nouns. I might not be able to pronounce them properly, but there's Sarah, there's Megan, Marcus, and Mitchell. So, this is the book. It is contributed by these phenomenal people. And let us start. Introduction we will do, foundations of sociology we will do. Alright, in today's lecture we will be able to do about the basic foundations of sociology. Let us go through the index once, because it is such an interesting subject that we will even enjoy going through the index once. It is not boring. Everything we will study will be very interesting. See, foundations of sociology. Pehla, a physical defeat has never marked the end of the nation. This is by Ibn Khaldun. Mankind have always wandered or settled, agreed or quarreled in troops and companies. Adam Ferguson. Science can be used to build a better world. Auguste Comte. What does Auguste Comte say? Social physics. Declaration of Independence bears no relation to half the human race. This is by Martineau. The fall of bourgeois and the victory of proletariat are equality inevitable. This is of Karl Marx. Now we have Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft. This is by Tonys. And then we have society like human body has interrelated parts, needs and functions. This is by the structural functionalist, or you can say the functionalist thinker Emile Durkheim. What does he say? Society like human body has interrelated parts, needs and functions. Then we will see the iron cage of rationality. Max Weber, who also talks about bureaucracy. We will say many personal troubles must be understood in terms of public issues. C.W. Mills. What does C.W. Mills say? Personal troubles must be understood in the terms of public issues. Critically, you must also be remembering the economic theories wherein we study about this basic fundamental, where microeconomic saving versus macroeconomic saving differs, which is also known as the paradox of thrift. But it is different in this case because personal troubles are indeed related to public issues. Pay to the most commonplace activities the attention accorded extraordinary events. This is by Garfinkel. Where there is power, there is resistance. This is by Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault talked a lot about power. Gender is a kind of imitation for which there is no original. This is by Butler. Okay. Then we will view after the foundations of sociology, we will view social inequalities. I'll change the color of my pen. See, social inequalities. I broadly accuse the bourgeois of social murder. Frederick Engels. Engels was a friend of Karl Marx, and they wrote a book, Communist Manifesto, which is very famous. I broadly accuse the bourgeois of social murder by Frederick Engels. The problem of 20th century is the problem of the color line. So good quote. The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the current color line by W.E.B. Du Bois. Why does W.E.B. Du Bois says? He says that because of the racial problem, the racial discrimination. What does he say? The problem of 20th century is the problem of the color line. Now I think you are able to understand that all these are quotes by the famous thinkers of sociology, and the famous postulates they have given. They are the brief lines which depict their school of thought, and not the school of thought. Schools of thoughts are such like structural functionalism. Then we have interpretivist school of thought. These are just the brief lines showing how they think and what are their patterns of thought, wherein they help them formulate their own theories. See, the poor are excluded from ordinary living patterns, customs, and activities of life by Peter Townsend. So he talks about poverty. They ain't no black in the Union Jack. They ain't no black in the Union Jack. Paul Gilroy. 1 second. Paul Gilroy. A Sense of One's Place by Pierre Bourdieu. The Orient is the stage on which the whole East is confined. Edward Said. And then the ghetto is where black people live. So all this is about what? About social inequalities. See, this is social inequality of labor. Then these are the social inequalities of race. Right, then the tools of freedom become the sources of indignity. This is by Sennett. The men's interest in patriarchy is condensed in hegemonic masculinity. This is given by R.W. Connell. Alright, so now we have gender discrimination sort of social equality coming. Pehle we had the class based, then we had the color based. Now we have, see, this was the class based, the color based, and then we have the gender based. See, the white women have been complicit in this imperialistic, white supremacistic, capitalist patriarchy. This is by Bell Hooks. The concept of patriarchy is indispensable for an analysis of gender inequality. Sylvia Wolby, sorry. Modern living. Strangers are not really conceived as individuals but as strangers of a particular type. This is by George Simmel. The freedom to remake our cities and ourselves. Alright, there must be eyes on the street by Jacobs. Only communication can communicate. Society should articulate what is good. See, McDonaldization affects virtually every aspect of the society. By George Ritzer. He also has a very famous book, right? He says McDonaldization affects virtually every aspect of the society. The bonds of our communities have withered. Disneyization replaces the mundane baldness with spectacular experiences. So beautiful. But yes, also it is about the modern living. How the trends are changing, how westernization is taking place. Living in a loft is like living in a showcase by Zukin. Now living in a global world. Now we talk about globalization, then we will talk about culture and identity, then work and consumerism, then we'll talk about the role of institutions, then we have families. So there's a lot aligned. We have to talk about. Alright, living in a global world, abandoning all types. Abandon all hope of totality, you would enter the world of fluid modernity. See, this is what Zygmunt Bauman said. Abandon all hope of totality, you would enter the world of fluid modernity, living in a global world. The modern world system, Emanuel Wallerstein, his theory was there regarding the modern world system. He prepared a beautiful theory, developing how the exchanges are happening. We will study it in detail. Then the global issues, local perspectives by Roland Robertson. Climate change is the back of the mind issue, Anthony Giddens. What does Giddens say? Giddens says climate change is the back of the mind issue. It is always there in our minds, but it is never taking a front place. We have recently seen that the COP30 is happening. All the countries are gathering in Belém, Brazil. Now we do not know the outcomes of COP30, but I am very sure that there will be intense debates as to how the resources have to be distributed between the developed and the developing countries. No social justice without global cognitive justice by Santos. The unleashing of productive capacity by the power of the mind by Castells. We are living in a world that is beyond controllability. See, Ulrich Beck says we are living in a world that is beyond controllability. It sometimes seems as if the whole world is on the move. By John O'Reilly, I would absolutely agree to John O'Reilly. He says it sometimes seems as if the whole world is on the move. Nations can be imagined and constructed with relatively little historical straw. Alright. Global cities are strategic sites for new types of operations. This is said by Saskia Sassen. Different societies appropriate the materials of modernity differently by Arjun Appadurai. The process of change have altered the relation between people and communities. Now we'll see culture and identity, I and the me by G.H. Mead. Very important. The challenges of modernity is to live without illusion, without becoming disillusioned. The challenge of modernity is to live without illusions and without becoming disillusioned. Antonio Gramsci. Civilizing process is constantly moving forward. मास कल्चर reinforces political repression. बिल्कुल, ये कल्चर एंड आइडेंटिटी की बात है. चलो, I'll do one thing. I'll separate. Like, I'll only discuss the important headers for the people who are preparing for the civil services and for the people who are researching and are professors at various universities, UGC net, all of that. All of you will be required to read all of the quotes and go through all of them. But for the sake of civil services aspirants, I will highlight the important quotes and the important headers which have to be referred to always. All right, so I'll highlight it with this color. Okay, so the physical defeat has never marked an end of the nation. Don't worry, we're not doing it again. I'm highlighting with yellowish golden color. Just a second, and it will be done. All right, this is very important for you. See, we saw fall of bourgeois, the victory of the proletariat, and the victory of proletariat are equally inevitable. And we also saw angels say, "I broadly accuse bourgeois of social murder." So all this is important. See, when we're coming back, we're revising, we are highlighting. You must also feel a sense of, you must feel a sense of click in your mind that yes, I've read this. Society, like the human body, has interrelated parts, needs, and functions. Who says this? Emile Durkheim. August Comte, science can be used to build a better world. Bilkul. Then we have Mill saying many personal troubles must be understood in terms of public issues. Then we have Foucault's power theory. There's power, where there's power, there is resistance. Yeah. This also, men's interest in patriarchy is condensed in hegemonic masculinity. Ghetto is where black people live. Very important. Alright, all these are important thinkers. All thinkers are important, but these are more important with respect to competitive examinations, because when the government will ask the question, the government will ask with respect to important thinkers who have. See, all thinkers are important. Without research in subjects like sociology, the world will never be able to progress. The mankind will stay stuck. We need to have research. We need to have a rational thought. So all this is important. Now we will, yes, do the modern living thinkers. This is also important. Concept of patriarchy is indispensable for an analysis of gender equality. George Ridger McDonaldization affects virtually every aspect of the society. George Simmel says strangers are not really conceived as individuals but strangers of a particular type. मतलब क्या बोल रहे हैं कि strangers actual में individuals नहीं है पर एक particular type के strangers हैं. मतलब कि सारे strangers एक तरीके से interconnected. When we will study his theory, you will be highly impressed by Simmel. And then we have Bauman. Then we have the modern world system theory. Very nice theory. Climate change is the back of the mind issue. And what else? Chalo, let us continue. We were here. Now we will see Culture and Identity, I and Me by G.H. Me. Challenge of modernity is to live without illusions and without becoming disillusioned. This is said by Antonio Gramsci. The civilizing process is constantly moving forward. By aliens, mass culture reinforces political repression. The danger of future is that men may become robots. Erich Fromm. Culture is ordinary by Raymond Williams. Stigma refers to an attribute that is deeply discrediting. Irving Goffman. Stuart Hall says modern identities are being decentered. All communities are imagined. Throughout the world, culture has been dogged, pushing itself in the center stage. Jeffrey Alexander. Throughout the world, the culture has been doggedly pushing itself at the center stage. So, culture is playing a center role. As per Jeffrey Alexander, I'll automatically underline with my words which thinkers you have to focus on a lot when you're preparing for such and such examinations like the UPSC. But all the thinkers are important. All the thinkers have laid down their theories with intense evaluation of the society. So you must be able to comprehend each and every theory we'll be studying. And it is a very lengthy book, I'm telling you. It is a very comprehensive source I'm trying to teach here. You will not find this kind of, you can say, comfortable understanding anywhere else. We will be indulging in very comfortable understanding. See, work and consumerism, most of them are same, like conspicuous consumption के बारे में Veblen is talking. Veblen goods, you know na? What are Veblen goods? The goods like the diamond ring, the goods like luxury purses and luxury shoes, all of them. All right, Puritan wanted to work in calling, we are forced to do so. The Brighton wanted to work in calling, we are forced to do so, by Max Weber. Technology like art is soaring exercise of human imagination, by Daniel Bell. The more sophisticated the machines become, the less skill the worker has. मशीन जितनी सोफेस्टिकेटेड होगी, ब्रेवर मैन कहता है, उतना कम स्किल्ड वर्कर होगा. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस इज एन एग्जाम्पल. एआई पे क्वेश्चन आएगा तो ब्रेवर मैन को लिख के आएंगे. ऑलराइट, देन वी हैव Colin Campbell saying romantic ethic promotes the spirit of consumerism. How beautiful. Campbell says what? Romantic ethic promotes the spirit of consumerism, and it is a good theory. We will study about it. Automation increases the worker's control over his work process. Blonner says this. Alright. Then we have these thinkers like Miller, Burawoy, Hochschild, all of them. All of them. Carvey, all of them. See, Daniel Miller also. Things make us just as we make things. As much as we make things. So these are the things we have to study in work and consumerism. We can study Marx also here. We can connect Marx here. Alright, role of institution. See, Marx has come when we talk about institutions. The first institution is religion. So he says religion is a sigh of oppressed creature. What does Marx say? Religion is opium of masses. है ना? He calls religion. I'm extremely sorry for zooming it out एकदम से. I'll write it here. He calls religion as the opium of masses. Then irony, the iron law for oligarchy, by Michels. The healthy people need no bureaucracy to mate, give birth and die. Some commit crimes because they are responding to social situation, by R.K. Merton. What does he talk about right here? He talks about his theory of deviance. One second. Deviant behavior. Alright, total institutions strip the people of their support systems and giving sense of self. So, sense of self. Irving Goffman is saying about the sense of self and the total institutions. And the government is right. Is the right disposition of things. Yes, government is the right disposition of things, and Michel Foucault, as you know, has talked about the theory of power. See, there's no A in Michel. Religion has lost its. Government is the right disposition of things. Religion has lost its possibility and social significance. Wilson says this. Alright? Brian Wilson. Then Becker says our identity and behavior are determined by how we are described and classified. Habermas says economic crisis is immediately transformed into a social crisis. Schooling has been at something done to the poor and for the poor. Then Maffesoli says time of the tribes. Okay, so all of them are mentioning the particular institutions. See how working class kids get working class jobs. Paul Willis. Families and intimacies. The difference between sexes are cultural creations. Margaret Mead. So Margaret Mead talks about family, talks about the various divisions of labor between the gender and various cultural aspects of the gender. Families are factories that produced human personalities. How beautiful, na? Families are factories that produce what? Human personalities. Wow. So family's role is also highlighted. You know, Talcott Parsons talked about two theories related to one theory related to family, wherein he said that family has two kinds of role. The first role and the second role. The first role is what? Socializing the children. Socializing children. And the second role is stabilizing elderly. He also talked about, as you must be knowing, and if you're doing the introduction, you'll get to know everything. Alright, so will get to know right now when I say it, that he also talked about the various social functions and the social system. Alright. Western man has become a confessing animal. Who says this? Michel Foucault. Cure, 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 I'm sorry. Queer theory questions the very grounds of identity. By Steven Seedman. I'm sorry, I'm not able to pronounce some words. Like, I fumble a lot in certain words, so I also try to improve myself. Alright, sexuality is as much about beliefs and ideologies as about the physical body. Absolutely. But and Anne Oakley says housework is directly opposed to self-actualization. Household work is directly opposed to self-actualization. See, now we're talking about the division of labor. When love finally wins, it has to face all kinds of defeat. The marriage contract is a work contract. Heterosexuality must be recognized and studied as an institution. Adrene Rich says this: Western family arrangements are diverse, fluid, and unresolved. Judith Stacy says this. Delphi says what? Marriage contract is a work contract. Alright. So these are the thinkers and there are their theories. We'll study them in absolute detail. You don't have to worry about anything. Each and every thinker will cover through this source in absolute detail, and I thank a lot to this source, because when we will study it, you will realize that it has a lot to tell you. So let us start with the introduction now. See this quote: human nature is unbelievably malleable. Margaret Mead says what? Human nature इज अनबिलीवेबली मेलिएबल, मतलब उसे पतला करा जा सके, मतलब बदला जा सकता है. रिस्पॉन्डिंग एक्यूरेटली contrastingly to contrasting cultural traditions. Alright, now let us start. Humans are social creatures. Throughout our evolutions, from days of our foraging and hunting animals, we have tended to live and work in social groups. हम क्या social creatures हैं? हम सोशल ग्रुप्स में ही रहते हैं, काम करते हैं. फ्रॉम हंटिंग टू गैदरिंग वी आर सोशल एनिमल्स, वी लिव इन सोशल ग्रुप्स. अपन इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ों को ही हाईलाइट करेंगे. अगर आपके पास ये किताब है तो आप हाईलाइट कर लीजिएगा कि ह्यूमंस आर सोशल क्रीचर्स which have become progressively larger and more complex, of course. So we are evolving also. The society is evolving entity. सोसाइटी क्या है जी? इवॉल्विंग एंटिटी है. These groups have ranged from simple family units through clans and tribes, villages and towns to cities and nation states. Our natural inclination to live and work together has led to the formation of civil societies. सिविल सोसाइटी क्या है? फोर्थ पिलर है. चलो ये छोड़ो, है ना. आप ऑफ कोर्स सिविल सोसाइटी इज वेरी नेसेसरी फॉर डेमोक्रेसी. We have been shaped by increasing breadth of our knowledge and sophistication of our technology. Alright, in turn, the nature of the society we live in influences our social behavior, affecting virtually every aspect of our lives. So they say that nature, so it is saying that nature is also affecting us. It is not just we who affect the nature also affects us. The people around us affect us. Sociology was born of the modern ardor to improve society. Abayan W. Small says this. You can just remember Small. Alright, Small is the thinker who says what? Small says that society was born of modern ardor to improve society. Sociology was born out of the modern ardor to improve society. Absolutely, because it was born out of Renaissance and European European intellectual revolution, enlightenment. Alright. Sociology is the study of how individuals behave in groups and how their behavior is shaped by these groups. So what is sociology? See here. This is our definition. Sociology is what? Study of how individuals behave in groups and how their behavior is shaped by these groups. This includes how groups are formed, the dynamics that animate them, how these dynamics maintain and alter the group or bring about social change. Today's sociology scope ranges from theoretical study of social processes, structures, and systems to the application of these theories as a part of social policy. तो अब सोशियोलॉजी का स्कोप क्या है? थियोरेटिकल स्टडी ऑफ सोशल प्रोसेसेस, स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड सिस्टम टू द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ दीज थ्योरीज एज अ पार्ट ऑफ सोशल पॉलिसी. And because societies consist of collection of individual people, there is an inevitable connection between the structures of society as a whole and the behavior of individual members. All right. तो बेसिकली कहना चाह रहा है कि आजकल सोशियोलॉजी सोशल प्रोसेसेस को पढ़ती है, जैसे कि मैरिज स्ट्रक्चर्स को पढ़ती है, जैसे कि फैमिली और सिस्टम्स को पढ़ती है, जैसे कि द कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन वेरियस एजेंट्स ऑफ सोसाइटी, like how a social system operates, when the grandparents transmit their values to the children, when the teachers transmit socialization values to the students. All right, and applications of these theories as part of social policy. तो ये सब पढ़ा जाता है. और because society individual collection of individual people है, there is an inevitable connection between structures of society as a whole and the behavior of its individual members. तो जैसा स्ट्रक्चर का सोसाइटी और जैसा इंडिविजुअल मेंबर्स बिहेव करते हैं, उनके बीच में एक बढ़िया कनेक्शन बैठा हुआ है. Sociologists may therefore focus on institutions and organizations of society, the various social groupings and stratifications within it, or the interactions and experiences of individuals. All right. तो ये sociologists focus कर सकते हैं. Perhaps surprisingly, sociology is comparatively modern discipline. सरप्राइजिंगली, क्योंकि पहले ऐसी भावना ही नहीं उत्पन्न हुई कि अपन को सोसाइटीज़ को ऐसे स्टडी करना चाहिए, सोशल स्ट्रक्चर्स को स्टडी करना चाहिए, क्योंकि सोसाइटी कभी ऐसे चेंज ही नहीं हुई थी इस तरीके से. जैसे इंटेलेक्चुअल रेवोल्यूशन में वो चेंज हो गई, फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन हुआ, साइंटिफिक रेवोल्यूशन हुआ. तो सोशियोलॉजी एक कंपेरेटिवली कह सकते हैं मॉडर्न डिसिप्लिन है. ऑल द फिलोसोफर्स इन एंशिएंट चाइना एंड एंशिएंट ग्रीस रिकॉग्नाइज द एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ सिविल सोसाइटी एंड द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ सोशल ऑर्डर. देयर कंसर्न वाज मोर पॉलिटिकल then sociological, how society should be organized and governed rather than a study of society itself. तो मतलब वो सोसाइटी को पढ़ना नहीं चाहते थे, पहले वो सोसाइटी को सिर्फ गवर्न करना चाहते थे. पर ये भावना जल्द ही चली गई और सोसाइटी क्या बन गई? क्या बन गई सोसाइटी? सोसाइटी है क्या? हाउ डू यू डिफाइन सोसाइटी? What is society? A collection of individuals. What is society? How things operate around us. Our environment is society. Our living system is society. A living entity wherein individuals personally, emotionally, spiritually, physically interact with each other. That is society. So, people never studied society, and this is surprising. But just as political philosophy emerged from the civilization, sociology appeared as a result of profound changes in Western society during the Age of Enlightenment. What will we say? We will say that sociology emerged as a result of profound changes in Western society during the Age of Enlightenment. And when was the Age of Enlightenment? You must also mention this here. It was in 18th century Europe, 17th and 18th century Europe. Alright, there were several aspects to these changes. Most notably, technological advances had provided the machinery that brought about industrial revolution, radically changing methods of production and creating prosperous industrial cities. The traditional certainties based on religious beliefs were called into question. All right, so see. By the philosophy of enlightenment. This was not only the authority of church that was undermined by this so-called age of reason. The order of monarchies and aristocracies was under threat, with demands for a more representative government leading to revolutions in America and France. ठीक है, तो अमेरिकन और फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन देखने को मिलता है. सोसाइटी एंड मॉडर्निटी. अ न्यू मॉडर्न सोसाइटी वाज क्रिएटेड फ्रॉम द एज ऑफ एनलाइटनमेंट. एक नई मॉडर्न सोसाइटी का जन्म हुआ कहाँ से? From the age of enlightenment, sociology began to emerge at the end of 18th century as a responsible to this transformation as philosophies and thinkers attempted to understand the nature of modernity and its effects on society. Inevitably, some simply bemoaned the erosion of traditional forms of social cohesion such as family ties and community spirit found within a small unit within small rural societies and beliefs offered by common religion. But others recognized what? That there are few new social forces at work. What new social forces at work? About bringing about social change with a potential for both social order and disorder. In keeping with the spirit of enlightenment, these early social thinkers sought to make their study of society objective and create a scientific discipline. Now we are starting to move towards the study of society. See, now we will talk about the early social thinkers. उन्होंने क्या सोचा? उन्होंने ये सोचा कि ऑब्जेक्टिविटी रखना बेहतर है. पर ऑब्जेक्टिविटी से सब कुछ नहीं होता. हमें नॉन पॉजिटिविस्ट मेथड्स को भी अप्लाई करना पड़ता है. And create a scientific discipline that was distinct from philosophy, history, and politics. The natural sciences, physics, chemistry, astronomy, and biology were well established, and the time was ripe for the study of humans and their behavior. The time was ripe for the study of humans and their behavior. Because of the nature of industrial revolution and the capitalism that it fostered, the first of the new social sciences to emerge was economics. And economics is the study of household. Matlab, the literal meaning of the term economics, which comes from what do you say? I am also forgetting economics. So nomi is the study, and economics comes from a term which starts with O, if I'm not wrong. हाँ, oikos है ना? Oikonomics, which is the study of the household. So basically, it studied the production and distribution functions. For the ones who are well versed in economics, must be knowing how we study everything with context to demand and supply. And even I am a graduate of economics, so I love the subject. I love sociology. I love economics. So see, because of the nature of industrial revolution, give me a second. Yes, the first of the new social sciences to emerge was economics, pioneered by Adam Smith, who wrote what? Wealth of Nations. See, Nature and the Causes of the Wealth of Nations, better known as the Wealth of Nations. It is a beautiful book. Even today, if you'll read it, you will be able to get many insights from the book of Adam Smith. He talked about what? Later, the thinkers came, they talked about comparative advantage, but he talked about trade. He talked about absolute advantage in trade. The foundations of sociology were also being laid by philosophers and theorists such as Saint Simon. See, our Saint Simon has come. Henry the Saint Simon and Adam Ferguson. And one more. And in the early part of the following century by Auguste Comte, I'm sorry. By Auguste Comte, whose scientific approach. See, there was Auguste Comte, who is, I think, the father of sociology. Then Saint Simon, the one who's called it social physics. And then there's Herbert Spencer also, who is the father of sociology. Auguste Comte is the father of sociology, yes. And he also was involved in the scientific approach. He was one of the early thinkers, and he was also thinking that the scientific approach shall be adopted, objectivity shall be adopted. Following in the Comte's footsteps came three groundbreaking sociologists whose different approaches to the analysis and interpretation of social behavior set the agenda for the subject of sociology in 20th century and beyond. And those groundbreaking sociologists were Max Weber, Emile Durkheim and Karl Marx. Alright, किस कलर से अंडरलाइन करें यानी हाईलाइट करें? Let us highlight them with some different color. They were groundbreaking, na? So let us highlight them with brown color. These were groundbreaking sociologists. कौन है? कार्ल मार्क्स है, एमाइल दरखाइम है और मैक्स वेबर है. ठीक है. Okay. Each identified a different aspect of modernity as the major factor in creating social order, disorder and change. मार्क्स क्या बोलता है कि भाई सोसाइटी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिडन है. मैक्स वेबर क्या बोलते हैं? इंटरप्रेट करो चीज़ों को अच्छे से. और एमाइल दरखाइम क्या बोलते हैं? फंक्शंस के बारे में बात करते हैं. सी, मार्क्स से स्टार्ट करते हैं. अब इनका कलर बदल देते हैं. मार्क्स को अपन इसी शेड में ही अंडरलाइन करते हैं इनको. मार्क्स को अपन लाइट से करेंगे, मैक्स वेबर को अपन बीच वाले से, और एमाइल दरखाइम को अपन, चलो इतना एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं करते, ये फर्स्ट थ्री कलर्स ले लेते हैं ना. पहले वी विल स्टार्ट विथ मार्क्स. Marx, a materialist philosopher and economist focused on growth of capitalism and the subsequent class struggle. Durkheim on the division of labor. बिल्कुल. Durkheim focused on what? The division of labor. Brought about by industrialization. And then we had Max Weber, who focused on the secularization and rationalization of modern society. All three have had an enthusiastic following and influencing sociology's major schools of thought to the present day. A social science. Sociology was a product of the age of reason. When science and rational thinking began to reign supreme, early sociologists were therefore anxious that for their discipline to be taken seriously, their method should be seen to be rigorously scientific. No mean feat given the nature of the subject, no human social behavior. Alright, so Comte laid the ground rules for the new science of sociology based on empirical evidence in the same way as natural sciences. Comte ने क्या कहा? Empirical discipline है, और he laid the ground rules, so he was called the father. Marx too insisted on approaching the subject scientifically. Durkheim was perhaps the first to gain acceptance for sociology as a social science in academic world. Alright, so to be scientific, तो मार्क्स भी क्या कहता था? कॉम्ते कहता था कि साइंटिफिक होना चाहिए सब्जेक्ट, पर दरखाइम ने कहा कि सोशियोलॉजी एक सोशल साइंस होनी चाहिए एकेडमिक वर्ल्ड में. जबकि उसने जब वो प्रिजन वाला एक्सपेरिमेंट किया था, वेयर इन द सुसाइड्स ही स्टडीड द सुसाइड रेट्स एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, वो एक साइंटिफिक सॉर्ट ऑफ एक्सपेरिमेंट था. बट फिर भी ही वॉज परहैप्स द फर्स्ट टू गेन एक्सेप्टेंस फॉर सोशियोलॉजी एज अ सोशल साइंस इन द academic world. To be scientific, any research method must be quantitative, that is to say, have measurable results. So Marx and Durkheim could point to facts and statistics to back up their theories. यूज किए थे इन दोनों ने मिलके क्या? फैक्ट्स और स्टैटिस्टिक्स अपनी अपनी थ्योरी में. But others maintained that social research should be more qualitative. हमने ब्लू साइंटिफिक किया है तो हम क्वालिटेटिव को पर्पल ले लेते हैं. ठीक है. वेबर ने क्या कहा? वर्स्ट है इंटरप्रिटेटिव अप्रोच होनी चाहिए जी. एग्जामिनिंग व्हाट इट इज लाइक टू लिव इन अ मॉडर्न सोसाइटी एंड द सोशल इंटरेक्शंस एंड रिलेशनशिप्स. So he will be examining what it is to like in a what it is like to live in a modern society. And how will he be examining? By telling you that interpretative approach should be used, Verstehen should be used. He will not be actually examining, but his approach is such that we should be examining what it is like to live in a modern society and the social interactions and relationships that are necessary for social cohesion. Although this viewpoint was initially dismissed by many as unscientific, sociology has become increasingly interpretative in latter half of the 20th century with a methodology that includes a combination of quantitative and qualitative research techniques. Alright, so ये बोल रहा है कि अब interpretative हो गई है sociology, है ना, in the later half of the 20th century, and we use what, both qualitative and quantitative techniques. Now we will see social reform. Give me a second. For many sociologists, sociology is more than simply the objective study of society and the quest to analyze and describe social structures and systems. Sociological theories, like theories in the natural sciences, have practical applications and can be used to improve the society in which we live. So, Auguste Comte and Marx saw society as a way of sociology as a way of understanding the workings of the society in order to bring about social change. तो दोनों को क्या अफलातूनी करनी थी और सोशल चेंज लेके आना था, स्पेशली मार्क्स को. Marx famously said, "The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways." मार्क्स ने क्या कहा? Philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. है ना? I am sorry, I did not read it fully. It is one of the good quotes I admire though. So, and his many followers, sociologists as well as political activists, have taken this to heart. उनने दिल पे ले ली बात कि भाई ये जो सोशल वर्ल्ड है अपना, इसको इंटरप्रेट किया है फिलोसोफर्स ने, बदला थोड़ी है. हमने ऐसी थ्योरी निकालनी है जो वर्ल्ड को बदल के रख दे. दरखाइम वॉज nowhere near as politically radical as Marx, made great efforts to have sociology accepted as an academic discipline. See, Durkheim, who was nowhere near as politically radical as Marx, made great efforts to have sociology accepted as an academic discipline. Durkheim क्या चाहता था? Academic discipline बने. So he was not that radical. To gain the approval of the authorities, he had to demonstrate not only the subject's scientific credentials but also its objectivity, especially in the light of political unrest that existed in Europe for more than a century following French Revolution. This somewhat ivory tower approach, divorced from the real world, dominated sociology for the first part of the 20th century. But as sociologists gradually adopted a more interpretive stance, they also advocated sociology as a tool for social reform. तो पहले क्या थी? radical approach, फिर academic discipline बनाया, फिर क्या हुआ? tool for social reform. This was particularly noticeable among sociologists with Marxian perspectives and others with left-wing political agenda. देखो, after World War II, sociologists including C.W. Mills and Michel Foucault examined the nature of power in society and its effects on the individuals. The ways in which society shapes our life. तो पावर को कौन एग्जामिन कर रहे थे पोस्ट आफ्टर वर्ल्ड वॉर टू? C.W. Mills और मिशेल फोकॉल्ट. मिशेल doesn't have a A. And the ways in which society shapes our lives rather than the way we shape society and how we can resist these forces. Even in the more mainstream sociology, the mood was changing and the scope of the subject broadened from academic study of society as it is to include practical applications informing public policy and driving social change. Alright, so basically, scope of the subject broadened. Society already has a wide scope. Alright. In 1972, Howard Becker, a respected US sociological theorist, wrote, "Good sociology produces meaningful descriptions of organizations and events, valid explanations of how they come about, and persist and realistic proposals for their improvement and removal." Alright. See what Pierre Bourdieu says. The function of sociology, as of every science, is to reveal that which is hidden. How beautiful. Institutions and मतलब ये कह रहे रिसर्च होनी चाहिए. Institutions and individuals as a reflection of increased emphasis on the relevance of sociology, the subject gained greater importance and acceptance and even popular interest in the second half of the 20th century as more thinkers turned their attention to social issues, so the scope of sociology broadened. All right. See, more thinkers after 20th century turned their attention to social issues. तो scope क्या हुआ? Broad हो गया. Evolving from traditional study of structures and as systems of modern society and forces of social cohesion and causes of social disorder, it began to examine the connections between these areas and the interactions of individuals and social groups. A century or so a century or so ago, sociologists were divided into those who approached the subject on a macro level, looking society as a whole, and those who approached it at the micro level. तो ये division हो गया अब thinkers में. While this distinction still exists to an extent, the sociologists now recognize that the two way are closely connected. The two are closely connected, and many concentrate their work on groups that fall between the two approaches. What kind of groups? See, like social classes, ethnic, religious, or cultural groups, families, or groups that are defined by gender and sexual orientation. So we will start with the foundation of sociology tomorrow. Foundations of sociology tomorrow. Today we will complete our basic introduction. See, so many focus in the between the lines, like not above line like macro and not below the line like micro, between the like line like social classes, ethnic religions, cultural groups, families, and groups that are defined by gender and sexual orientation. Social classes, ethnic religions, cultural groups, families, or groups that are defined by gender and sexual orientation. Sociology, has also responded to accelerating pace of change. Since World War II, many social conventions have been challenged. The new social norms have taken their place in the Western world. The civil rights and women's movements have done much to address the racial and gender inequalities, and social theories have also helped change the attitudes to sexuality and family life. Alright, see, Zygmunt Bauman says what? The task for sociology is to come to help of the individual. We have to be in service of freedom. See, the global age. Technological innovations have arguably brought about the social change compared to or more far-reaching than wrought by industrial revolution. Increased automation and computerization, rise of service and industries, and growth of consumer society have all contributed to shape the society. Many of us live in today. While some sociologists see this as a continuation of the process of modernity, others believe we are now entering a postmodern post-industrial age. Sociologists have recently turned their attention to the cultural and what identity, national identity, and to the effects of globalization. क्योंकि अब cultural divisions भी हैं. We have to look into that as well, right? Racial divisions भी हैं. पहले भी थे पर अभी sociologists क्या है increasingly focused है उन पे, because they are also an important determinant of how the society has evolved with time. All right. I gave my CBSE board exam in sociology and I scored 100 out of 100. I had subjects in 12th standard. I had subjects like I had maths, core maths, like that of science. I had economics, I had history, I had political science, I had English, and I had your favorite subject, sociology, also. Then I did my graduation in economics. Economics. Economics is also a really good subject. I studied economics in detail. I've taught postgraduate JNU students economics. It is a very good subject. The theories, when you study Marshall, Walras, Cobb Douglas, production functions, the Pareto efficiency curve, it is a brilliant subject, I would say. I love economics and sociology. Political science also I like. History also I like. Environment, geography, all of them I like. I admire them a lot. They are also good subjects. And when it comes to natural sciences like physics, maths, and chemistry, I like maths. I am very much inclined towards maths, but when it comes to chemistry and physics, I have studied physics, JEE physics, but I actually do not, uh, like I understand it, but I do not like to. It is very difficult to talk in the natural sciences, just the way we talk in the social sciences, like political science, sociology, history. It is difficult to communicate because they do not relate to the social world, and communication is very essential when we are talking about the social sciences. We have to give stories, we have to give examples, quotes of various thinkers, of various people, what they did, how they did, all of them. So that kind of luxury we do not have in the natural sciences. We have to talk about facts, we have to talk about normative things. All right, here we can talk limitlessly. Here we can talk about various theories, where various ways in which the theories were formulated. So that is the specialty which the thinkers of that time also realized, that this is the specialty of their subject. See, modern technology has also provided sociology with a sophisticated means of researching and analyzing the evolution of new social structures. All right, so here is where the sociology is also evolving itself and formulating new social structures. See, the real political task in a society such as ours is to criticize the workings of the institutions that appear to be both neutral and independent, to criticize and attack them so that one can fight against them, absolutely against the institutions. Michel Foucault says this. Michel without a A, Foucault, he says this. All right. Now we will do the foundation tomorrow. See, there's a timeline also. That is what I like about this book. It is a really interactive book. Then we'll do August Comte. Science can be used to build a better world. August Comte. जो अपन ने हेडर्स पढ़े थे ना, उन्हीं को ही ब्रीफ ब्रीफ एक एक दो दो पेज में एक्सप्लेन कर रखा है और थिंकर्स के आइडियाज के साथ एक्सप्लेन कर रखा है. So it will be easy to cover. Alright, we'll start from where? We'll start from here. Page number 18. Thank you.